Attention, all views and opinions expressed in this video and channel are for educational purposes only.
All right, getting ready to get up here on the stage, and this should be a lot of fun. I'm really not as worried about it as I thought I'd be. Sometimes, you know how it's one of them things where you think, you know, well, hey, you'll get nervous and all that. I'm not. I mean, I really feel like I'm just talking about things I've already talked about a blue million times on here. So getting ready to do that. Of course, Jamie's gonna film it, and I'm gonna be mic'd up. So, you know, I don't know how much they'll show in the video, but it's pretty much gonna be a recap of what you've seen 100 times. So anyway, gonna be fun. Let's see what happens. Getting ready to go up there. All right, everybody. Hey, my name's Chad Wade. I'm from Chad Wade TV. I do quite a bit of YouTube, a lot of social media. But they got me up here, and they want me to talk about a few things. I speak about this quite a bit, especially in the diversified platforms, because I believe that you're absolutely going to have to change how you're doing things, especially. If you're running a smoke shop or you're running even a cigar shop, I believe you're going to have to change quite a bit in order to stay alive. And I speak about this a lot. I've been proven right repeatedly about this, so I'm not going to say that I'm some kind of, what's the word I want to use, fortune teller, but I have been right quite a bit when it comes to this. So maybe I am telling a fortune. All right, so let me get on with this, and we'll see how it goes, and we'll get some Q&A going, and I don't mind to just tell you the facts. If I get a little weird, let me know. So today, we're basically going to talk about a diversification strategy that you could use, and whether it'll help you or not, depending on the shop and how diversified you want to be, that'll matter. We're going to talk about some core and emerging categories as well, some high margin add-ons that you might not even have thought of. And I'm going to tell you one that's going to blow you away, but it is going to be a fact because I've watched it happen in my own stores. We're talking about lifestyle expansion and how that should look maybe in some of your stores. Some of you, it just won't work that way. It just will not work. You'll have to make it work if that's the way you want it. And then we're going to talk about local product opportunities, because some of you probably have more of an arty crowd around you, or maybe you even have some crafty people around you and you haven't even thought about adding that to your shops. And then we're going to talk about scaling and what works. So that's going to be quite a bit to talk about. All right, so let's get into the why diversification matters. All right, and to me, the more that you stay the way you are, you're going to constantly get what you've always got. And I found out specifically how wrong that was. And we had at one time 6 stores. I'm guilty of this. And let me tell you how bad that hurts. I found out through loss of 4 of those stores that I didn't diversify, and I stayed exactly the way I was. And I believed in the old school head shop mentality. It did not work, and it eat us alive from the inside, and that should be embarrassing to say, but we learned a lot from it. And so by doing so, I have learned to talk about this in order to help you all not do it. Some of you may have 1 store, some of you may have 40 stores. We have a wholesale also, so we speak to a lot of shops, and we talk to them, and by talking to them, we understand a lot more of what works, which really kind of helped my own shops. So maybe I can help you all today as well. So relying on one product category will expose you completely, I promise you, to failure. Like right now, we're all seeing regulation coming in about the THCA products and some of the flower products. Maybe some of you all live in a state where they've already shut that down. And if you are seeing that, you already know it's hurt your business, whether any of you want to admit that or not. And some of the vaping products, as you all know, is being shut down either by the feds or the state. And you're probably seeing that hurt your business. And if you are, well, welcome to the party, because we're all in the same boat. At least I think so. All right. So also ask yourself this, some of the key pressures that we've got going on, we're seeing that our POS system's just shutting down because they don't want the hemp, or they don't want the Kratom, or they don't want the Delta product. And if you're seeing that, welcome to the party again, because we're all in the same boat there. But then you're also now seeing that with payment processors. So your credit card processors are now all shutting down because they're calling you high risk. High risk means you're in the same platform as the strippers. Now, most people don't want to admit that's true, but once you talk to your payment processor, you'll find out that adult entertainment is in the same platform as our smoke shops and cigar shops as well. And you pay a lot more for that, of course. And should you? Because I think we're all a lot more mainstream than they want, because look around. There's a lot of folks here, and that ought to tell you something. So you've got a lot of regulatory uncertainty and enforcement changes. So how many of you all have a smoke shop? No? Few? How many of you know somebody that's had the police run in on them because of a product they sold? Everybody knows that story. Everybody knows. I'm guilty of that story. All right, I know this happens. All right, it's a quick way to go to jail. All right, and that's no fun. Trust me. And with this regulatory uncertainty that we have today, especially with hemp products, and in my state of Kentucky, we are also seeing that with vaping products too. And they're talking about pushing that forward into even more like Delta products, which we have to now register and hold a license for to even sell. And it's expensive, and it's not one license, it's one license per store. And ours is around $2,000 per store. That don't seem like a lot, but depending on how much you think you sell of it. But if you're not selling a lot of it, there's another problem. So if they have it where the regulatory is, it has to all be registered, and it's low dose hemp, how do you go from driving a Corvette to a Chevette? And that probably tells you how old I am, that I even remember a Chevette. But it's impossible. I mean, they're both going to get you to the same spot, but one gets you there really fast, the other one does not. So it's really hard for you to even think that they're going to go from 2,000 milligrams down to 100 milligrams. They're not. They're not going to purchase it. So why would you even buy the hemp license? Well, we did. So we're slowly catching up, but you think now it's the date that it is into April, and we haven't even made that money up in profit. That's ridiculous. And then you start thinking about the category trend cycles and how people, the demand velocity, how people are so, hey, we love this product today, then we don't love this product. And in our industry, we know that's all true. We know that's very true, where one product is really hot, and then the next product comes, and now we have a total different change of the game. And how much longer is that sustainable? Ask yourself that. So let's talk about a diversified smoke shops model. I made a little platform here to look at, and this is kind of how I'm looking at it. I try to think of these core categories here, and these have got to be like primary revenue drivers. All right, and they have to be bringing the customer to the store. It cannot be something that you just believe, okay, this will work, let's see how this goes because it's just like this product right here. I've made that mistake too. So I'm guilty of this. Even if all of you are guilty of it, me too. All right, I'm asking you to start thinking about add-on categories. Supporting items that will increase the basket size. And I'm not just talking about rolling papers, and I'm not just talking about wraps. I'm talking about adding stuff that's going to actually increase. Like when we're selling a water pipe, are we selling an extra bowl to go to it? Because inevitably they're going to drop the bowl. Glass is a consumable, whether you believe it or not. And if they break that bowl, they can no longer use that merch. And are you explaining that to them as well? Do you have a downstem to go with that as well? And more importantly, are you making that a bundled product? And if you're not, you're losing money, I promise you. So you look into a lifestyle expansion as well. Let's think of non-core products that attract new demographics. Believe it or not, hemp soap is real, and it smells pretty good. All right, just I'm a man, so I shouldn't know that, but it is. It's pretty nice. And I'm finding bath bombs are selling. Who would have ever thought of that as a man? If I'd been stuck in my ways, I would have never pulled that off, you know? And so these things attract a new and different demographic. And we're not just thinking of the old school hippie that's coming in. You know, you're thinking about professionals, you're thinking about lawyers, you're thinking about doctors even. And yes, I do have those people. I've got even the police showing up, not to arrest me, but to buy the product. It's very odd for me as well. And so we're trying to extend the customer lifetime value, because you have to think in my state, probably most of your states, it's 21 and above. And if you sell certain products, you have to keep that like that. But why can't they buy the posters and the candles and the incense and the incense burners? Nobody answers that question. But if they've already started coming in and they're buying this stuff, when they turn 21 and it's lawful for them to buy the rest of it, wouldn't that keep the customer longer? The answer is definitely yes, because you're their spot. And if you're already there, you're their spot for keeping that type of product around, especially the alternative products. They will definitely come back and buy the rest of it when and if they choose to. If not, you got a lifetime, wildberry customer or something like that. So let's talk about functional botanicals and alt products. And we have to start thinking along the lines of that hemp could accidentally go away if they don't do something about it by November. Let's just be real about that and start thinking what if. Because if we don't start thinking about plan B, we could see our way completely out of business. So let me get out of the way here. So I've got some products up here that maybe a lot of you have never really thought of. I happen to carry all of this stuff, so I can tell you for sure exactly how well this sells. And but these things are daily drivers. These are things that brings people back in on a daily basis or an every other day basis. And that's what's important, is to keep the door moving. If you're not hearing the ding dong go on every few minutes, you kind of start thinking, oh God, is this going to be a Netflix type of day, And so I'm finding, these are just 3 examples of what I think, and it just so happens that these guys are being represented within the building as well. And I've got some other products, that just happen to be across the way. And I really do like this Kush line. I just didn't make a whole thing of it up here. And these guys over here have some real alternative products as well that I really do think a lot of. But you have to educate the customer how to use this product without saying and talking about them getting high. And you have to move away from that type of program. And for me, that's the most important part, is how you can teach your team the educational part of it, and how they can educate without implicating themselves unlawfully. All right, and these have very, very, very strong margins and very easy to keep the customer coming back for more because they work. And that's going to be the most important part of this whole program, is how to educate the customer so that they don't think that they're going to be seeing colors, rather they're going to have more of a euphoric experience. And so for us, that was a very heavy lift. So let's get into a pretty important category here, which is their premium cigars and humidors. And a lot of guys don't even think that's even necessary for their store, because we're a head shop. It's definitely important. And it's definitely important to how you do it. But I think that there's some better programs out there other than the traditional humidor and the traditional, let me figure out which cigars I need to have in my shop. Because I think that they're even here today, right as you, on the bottom floor, coming right down, there's a company called Cigar Bros. I don't know if any of you are familiar with them, but they provide a humidor in their program where you have to buy their cigars exclusively from them to fill it. But if you're not selling them, they'll let you send them back, and they will refill them with a whole different selection. And I don't think that's going to happen with a box of cigars. So if you're just stuck with them, I don't know about you all, but I have smoked a lot of cigars that did not sell. So maybe you all are in that same position, but I know that cigar bros work. But I've also talked to guys that have these commercial grade humidors lining the whole room, and they're doing very well with them. Very, very well. They're going to places like this. They're coming to TPE. They're going to the other programs, and they are seeing a lot of success with them. I wouldn't have believed how much success that these head shops are having with them, but they are. I know that we sell them mainly because I love cigars, just to be totally honest. But I know that this moves very well from my own stores. It's a different breed of customer though. But with this stuff will also come lighter sales, Zippo sales, torch sales, butane sales. You're also going to have pipe cleaners. If you get into pipe tobacco or anything of that nature, that's a whole nother discussion. I personally don't do that because that's just not my demographic. And so why have products sitting there that's not going to work? And you got to think, what can your neighborhood afford? Can your neighborhood afford a $25, a $30, a $40 cigar? Personally, my neighborhoods cannot. Maybe all of yours can. And if they can, that's wonderful. But a lot of them can't. And it also, with the cigars, it elevates the customer into more of a premium customer. And so with that being said, maybe you should check that out as well. And like I said, Cigar Bros, I know it's right downstairs, should you need that in there. They will even give you the humidor if you qualify for it. Beat that.
Let me show you something that's actually pushing this industry forward. Blunted cones. They didn't just release another pre-rolled cone, they engineered a whole new category. These cones were built from the ground up. Over a year of testing different papers, paper thickness, moisture levels, and flavor profiles to create something smokers have been asking for. A premium blunt cone with a glass tip style experience, but with a mesh filter. That means absolutely no Scooby snacks, no debris, no junk pulling through the cone. Just a smooth, clean smoke. Blunted isn't just selling cones. They're building a platform for brands. Premium companies can now create unique pre-rolled experiences with new flavors, terpene profiles, and different cone formats that stand out on the shelf. All designed around one goal: set the new standard for premium smoking products, and blunted cones are just getting started.
So let's talk about some high margin accessories. All right, so I know you're looking at these stickers and you're thinking, what the heck is that? Well, believe you me, if you can pick these stickers up, 500 count, and you're paying 26 bucks for them, and you're selling them 50 cents or 75 cents a piece, or two for $1, start doing the math. That's a high margin. And my store sells so many stickers because they put them right on the back of their computer. They slap them on their car. I don't know how many times I drove behind cars that the whole back end was done, which, whatever, it's their money. But I have sold so much. And we keep a constant flow of new and interesting cigars or stickers in at all times. And we sell a lot. My wholesale sells so many stickers, mainly because we've educated the customers and the stores exactly what has to be done and how to sell them. It's very easy. You put them right there by the counter and you let them go through it. You'll find people that'll spread them out. They'll buy 20, 25 of them at a time. Start doing the math. It quickly pays for itself. And then you're going to have like the non-traditional blunt wraps, or even the cones, because this right here is from a company called Blunted. They are right over, no, they're upstairs. No, we are upstairs. They're right down the way here in aisle 2500. And Blunted Cones has 5 different flavors, but what they also have is they give you the ability to have your own cone, and they help you by white labeling your own brand. And that makes your business stand out totally different, because everybody can buy I'll say it, everybody can buy raw, anybody can buy it, but it's all the same thing. But these things have a glass tip, they got a mesh filter, it's non-tobacco, and I realize that Raw doesn't have that as well. But think outside the box. Have your own brand, give them a reason to show up and to pick your brand. And it also will have all your information on it from your stores, and they do the whole thing. They help you with the whole process and make that very, very simple for you. Yes, there's some other companies that do it, but I'm just talking about them for the time being. Torches. These torchy lighters are a big seller for us as well, but any torch is also a big seller. These torches, especially if you are carrying cigars. And now people are using them more for oils and concentrates, and they want all of this. They want a premium build in that, and it's impossible to find a really good one that's cheap, inexpensive. You find one that's priced out, they won't buy it because they don't have the money. That's the economy we live in. But if you find something right in the middle with a good build quality, that's what's going to matter. So let's talk about some lifestyle and gift items. Okay, so I know this looks like a jumbled mess. I realize that. All right, this is what's known as a grab box, and it's going to have, as you can see, it's going to have a dugout. It's going to have a grinder, it's some papers, some knock chompa, you know, that's a staple item in every shop. And it's going to have a few other things in it, and it's going to be value priced to you. You can buy these in a lot of wholesale markets, including my own, and you can buy these things for should be inexpensive, and then sell them for around 20 bucks, $25. And I know my stores sell them for $25, and it becomes a gift item. And they're usually in a white box, white outer box, so you can put stickers on them, you can decorate them. I've seen people that give these things away with art, you know, drawn right into them. And I find that very creative, and hopefully maybe you all would have some luck with that too. I don't know, does anybody here sell sage? All right, sage is a seller, right? Everybody loves it. If you're not selling it, you are missing some products that maybe you should be carrying. Not just sage, but what about sweetgrass? You sell that too? Do you sell all the different sages? It's important, and it's not just like to ward off the ghosts, is it? You know, there is some metaphysical aspects of it as well. And you're even going to find this thing where people are starting to get into this because they like it as an incense as well. And that's what I'm being told, and we're selling a lot of it in our stores. Maybe give it a shot in yours. Now listen, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky. I'll tell you exactly where I'm at. So we have some urban market, we have some rural market, mostly urban market. The urban market is where it's selling well. Also, you know, these are incense burners down here. This thing is for cones. You're seeing a lot of things like for backflow cones. Anybody sell backflow cones? You know what I'm talking about? And so you're going to find that stuff, the incense burner for that, you can watch the trail, and it creates a whole experience for the buyer. And when we find that out, you find it, hey, maybe I should order more of that. And I was late to the game in that as well. I'll just be very honest. I didn't understand the backflow cone, but it was because I was ridiculously stupid and not thinking forward. I was still trying to just survive. That's why I'm telling you this today. Think like this. What else can I put in that's more of a lifestyle and gift item? I mean, even socks. Even, believe it or not, those things sell too. And like keychains, and we all think that that's kind of stuff that's like vacation stuff. But also, you know, magnets, and they don't have to be anything crazy or obscene. Although those tend to sell a little better, you know, the horror stuff sells. You know, let's just keep it real. Everybody loves to be a little edgy, you know. And so the more you think of this stuff, the more you realize how easy your eye is attracted to that, even at the truck stop. You know, we look at that stuff, you know, in between the gas fill up and waiting for the Subway sandwich. You know, I'm not the only one. Don't kid yourself. And we go through that whole aspect. Why wouldn't that work in the smoke shop? Well, I'm here to tell you, it does. It does. All right, let's talk about edibles and drinks, okay? As you've walked around through here, you've probably all seen quite a few canned Kratom drinks. And if you haven't, stop. They'll let you try them. Maybe check that out. Some of them are a little gritty. Some of them are a lot gritty. Some of them are quite tasty. Because let's face it, the teens today and the college kids today are not drinking like maybe we all were, in college. They're looking for alternatives. If you don't believe it, they're making songs about White Claw. Everybody's heard that song. But I find that very odd. But my daughter's in college, and seeing it on campus, I see a lot more White Claw than I do Budweiser. That's ridiculous to me. But that's them. I'm 54. They're 20, 21, 22 years old, and they're doing things differently. We must do that as well. We have to start thinking, if they will drink that Kratom drink, why are you not carrying it? Why do you just keep the Cokes and the Gatorades and the Celsius and the Monsters in your cooler? Why couldn't these go side by side in there? You're even seeing Delta drinks now, and according to what state you're in, you're also going to find out that some of those states, you have to keep those in the liquor store, but some states can still have them in their head shops or their shops or whatever you have. And so you would be able to do that. We also find that the mid Kratom shots seem to sell very, very well. They're a little bitty shot, and they take them as a daily use supplement. They're not trying to get high, they're trying to really just survive. And they use it for anxiety, they use it for stress relief, they use it for a lot more than to just be stoners. So get out of that mindset. Then you're seeing the disco chocolate. It's right across the way over here. As a matter of fact, I really didn't set this booth up, so I had no idea that was going to be there. It's just a new chocolate brand that's going to be more magic mushroom inspired, not so much trippy, not so much seeing colors, but as the euphoric feeling for it. And then you're seeing the Mad Honey gummies. We're moving away from hemp, in my humble opinion. And I think the industry has already seen it, and so they're just outright telling you this is the way, and I believe them because I'm seeing it in my own shops. I'm talking to people on the phones on a daily basis, and they're telling me, hey man, we're right here in this state in Iowa, we can no longer sell it. We're in Michigan, our municipality has cut us off from hemp. What can we do? What can we sell? Here it is. You're going to start seeing more mushroom products. You're going to start seeing more Blue Lotus products. Be careful with Blue Lotus though, because Blue Lotus does have hemp terpenes in it, and it's going to have a measurable amount of non-THC, but still hemp. So don't let people lie to you and tell you otherwise. I told you the truth. If you buy it and your state says you can't have it, I told you the truth. Kratom shots and Kratom powders and Kratom capsules, these are big sellers. These are things that you're going to absolutely see more and more and more, and you're going to see them. You're seeing them more and more on this floor. With that being said, do you have them in your shops? And if you don't, maybe you should. All right, let's talk about local and regional products, and just think what these things offer. These things offer community connection because people like to buy from people they know or people they know of. If you don't believe that, you didn't go to many concerts. You didn't want to see your favorite rock star or country music star or whoever, a rap star or whatever. And you want to be involved with that community one way or the other. So whether it's bringing in the local artist and having them, put their paintings on the wall for sale, maybe they even do, believe it or not, I've even seen some success with people who are buying painted rocks, and it's being done by a local artist. But believe you me, at 54, I remember the pet rock. I don't know how many of you remember that. My daughter thought that was the most ridiculous thing in the world, but apparently a lot of people remember that. But they're selling stuff like this. They're polishing stones. They're finding regional stones, and they're selling those stones within their smoke shops. Probably the most off-the-wall thing I ever saw that was regional was a group of knife makers that were selling their wares in smoke shops. They would have whole trays of their knives, Damascus blades, stainless blades, the bone handles. I would have never guessed that was selling. but they were getting 5 and 6 trays of them a month. Who's buying them? Ask yourself that. They're not collecting them amongst themselves. Somebody is coming in and buying those. And of course, the people making them also put them on their social media that you can pick that stuff up at their shop. And maybe that would help some of you all as well. Think for a unique inventory mix, and your competitors don't copy that. And so we all think, in the smoke shop industry, we all think we're in competition with each other if we live in the same area. We've never felt like that in Louisville, Kentucky. I don't know if any of you guys feel that way in your area, but we've never felt that way. I know every single owner, not just because we sell to them, but because it's a community. And it's getting to be a little more full, and of course you all know that. Chances are you have somebody in your smoke shop area that's right on top of you and you're not pleased with it, but it is what it is. But how are you going to stand out? And maybe some of this local and regional product could help you stand out. And by doing so, you go to the art shows, you go to places of that nature, and you try to find things that, hey, I could sell that. You know, dream catchers still sell, but especially if they're being made locally. All right, and anything like that, anything arty sells. It's very, very odd how well this works. And you know, people want to see this authenticity in the product, that they know it was made. Have no problem with the artist coming in and doing the painting right there in front of people. Have them set up in a little corner, maybe even a little stage. And if you even do live music, I've seen that work very, very well. I wouldn't have believed that. I normally don't like having people just stand around and listen to music, but it's something a little soothing about that, and it's getting into the community to do that, and it's very nice. And I even love the fact that I know right now that there is a poetry reading that goes on every single Friday night in my city in one of the bigger smoke shops in our areas. That's very, very odd, but it does tend to pull a crowd in, and people buy stuff once they're in there.
Need a faster detox? Ultimate Gold Detox activates your body's natural cleanse in under 60 minutes, including vitamin B50 and creatine. Quick, effective, natural Ultimate Gold Detox. Cleanse smarter and faster.
So let's talk about testing and scaling new categories. Not every category is going to work, y'all. I mean, you're going to try some things out and you're going to think, well, man, this will work. This is the greatest thing in the world. And then you're going to end up and it's going to have a lot of dust on it by the time it's all said and done. Or you're going to take it home and use it at your house. It is what it is. But if you're looking into a more smarter category of it, and maybe buy smaller. Don't try to buy the big discount. Don't try to buy the whole pallet. See if you can, what's the minimum order that you can make? Don't be afraid to ask that question. If they tell you it's a pallet, maybe that's not for you. Maybe you don't need a pallet because you don't know that's even going to sell. And if you don't know it and you buy it, you're really out there. And then believe me, I've done that as well. So I'm guilty. I'm telling you from my own lessons what not to do. Monitor all of your sell-through rate. Your POS system should tell you through inventory control how well this thing is selling. When did you put it in? Should you reorder? When did you reorder? And how come? Why didn't you reorder? And if you can't find a POS system in this area, in this building, you're blind. Because there's plenty of these companies here today that will help you with that. Some of them are a little more pricier than others. Don't let that stop you. If you think your stores need that, you can get so much value just from the reporting aspect of it, and it will save you money in the long run. And let's also not forget, POS systems are tax deductible. And then scale only in what proves. If you find out that, hey, I've had this 30, 60 days and this thing hasn't sold, bottom basement that, get it out of the building, get to something else. If you're not selling it, it's doing you absolutely no good whatsoever. Do not be guilty of that. And again, I'm guilty of that. Category performance metrics that matter. I have to see sell-through rate. If we don't have a good sell-through rate, it's not worth having. It's not. And then, you got 1,000 square foot building. All right, that's the average of most smoke shops now. It used to be closer to 1,500. And I preach 800 square foot. If you can get away with it, that's a great idea. And then figure out what it's going to cost you per month to run that shop per square foot. And if you don't know the answer to that, you're already in trouble. I'm telling you, you're just waiting to fail. And I was, again, guilty of that. And once we figured that out, it became so much clearer to me exactly how to make those shops work. And after losing those 4, I had to get very, very smart to this. And it's embarrassing to say, but it's just the truth. And then the repeat purchase behavior. If you are absolutely selling, but you're not watching your sell-through rate, you may get stuck holding, thinking you're going to move a product. Once again, I'm guilty of that. Don't be guilty of that. Pay attention to your metrics. Your POS system should tell you when you repurpose this and put this back into your system. And if you did not, and you just skipped a few steps, your POS system just becomes a glorified cash register. Don't skip steps. Put in dates, put in par levels, put in sell-through rates. You want to be able to drag this out of the POS system. And if you don't, I promise you, I won't see you next year. I promise. All right, let's talk about diversified shops. All right. When you walk into your shops, do you have a whole glass section? Do you have a whole vape section? Do you have a whole Delta section? Or do you have what most traditional smoke shops have, which they have a wall full of papers and cones and Rillos and wraps, and then there'll be some butane underneath it, then there'll be some lighter fluid, and then there'll be some other novelty items and crap. And if you have all that up there, but you don't have clear, defined zones, you may, and believe me, there is a lot of neon here that's being sold. And if you have a Kratom neon, and you have a Delta neon, you have a mushroom neon, you have a glass neon, and all this doesn't necessarily have to be today. I could even make the argument that you could buy a smaller TCL TV and put in a thumb drive into the back of it and have those same words glowing all day long, which is a lot cheaper and again tax deductible. And you will be able to get the same results because the eye moves where it sees movement, and that's what's important. You don't have to have the LED neons. You don't have to have any of the neon, which is expensive. You can get away with that, but the shop must be clear. You must not just say, okay, this is where the incense is, but this right here is where the lighter is. Oh, there's the humidors. That must be where all the cigars are. Yeah, but is it clearly marked? Can people walk in? Can they see that? If they can't, you will fail. Because they don't want to see that. They walk. Most of you have an Apple in your pocket, right? And you walk into an iPhone store. Everything's clearly marked, very clean. The new breed of buyer is used to that. They don't want to see the old school mom and dad's head shop. They want to see something clearly defined. And if your shop doesn't look like that, you got another. And my shops still don't look like that. I have not scaled to that yet, but we still have an overabundance of older clientele. But that is no excuse. Do you have simple education signage? Do you have signage that explains what that mushroom product is? All right, what that Blue Lotus product is, how this sage works? Do you have that in your shop? Yes and no? I understand. Me neither. I understand totally. I just think those people should always know. Do you have education on how to change the wick of the Zippo products you sell? Or do you tell them you can find it on YouTube? I'm willing to bet most of you are like most people, they don't have that. They don't have that signage. And it's very easy. As a matter of fact, Zippo will give you that signage. And have you asked your vendors for educational signage? Because we are seeing more and more vendors here in this building today that have that signage, and it's available free of charge because they want to sell more of their product. If you have that and you have a display case full of that little MF product that I have, I promise you Ryan and his group have that signage that you can slap right beside it, and it'll tell you all about the product, right down to the amount of carbohydrates in the gummies. Very odd. I felt like I was reading the back of a pretzel box. Do you have a clean, organized presentation? Think iPhone store. And do you have dust in your glassware? Are you not cleaning your cabinets? Are you not Windexing the heck out of your glass? If you're not, the new breed of buyer don't want to see that, because we've just come through that vid problem, that COVID problem, and now people are a little weird. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. And they're very germ conscious. Now, whether you believe that was anything more than a high-grade flu, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but something wild happened there, and it taught every one of us a lesson, whether you believe it or not that anything even happened. It taught us we need to be cleaner than we really are. And so these kids that are buying today, when I say kids, I'm thinking the under 30 crowd, they're paying attention to this because they lost whole year and a half of their schooling to this. So now they're very conscious of being clean. Your stores must reflect that. So what's the future of the smoke shop? That's what everybody's going to ask. I think you're honestly going to see a more experience-driven stores. They're going to want to have a lot more. I hate the very thought of the bud bar. I hated the very thought of that because you couldn't prove exactly what that really was. So that bothered me very well. But I think you're going to see more lifestyle oriented, where there's places for them to sit and congregate. And this is going to be important. But I do preach also, having a couch in the store is just a recipe for disaster. Because I promise you that at some point they will burn the couch, and there will be a problem with that, because you're not going to be happy just replacing couches every year. So if you have seats like these out here where they can sit down, talk amongst one another, share experiences with it. I'm not saying let's go kumbaya. I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that it is becoming more experience driven, where these people want to have a community type setting, not just a place to go and buy the head shop products. Your store should also be very brand focused. Having generic SKUs like generic incense or generic glassware or generic grinders or generic scales, I could go on and on and on about it. They want you to be very brand focused. If you just look around the room, you see all the brands, and of course you're thinking, well, of course they are, because they want you to notice their products and to be a part of their program. Yeah, you should too. You should want them to be very brand focused, buying only the products that have a great sell-through rate for you and the brands that you're focused with and you're partnered with right now. And if you're not, you've got a different breed of customer that expects that. And if you're not willing to do that, you could be losing some stores as well. So diversification equals stability and growth. All right, that's the bottom line. That's my whole thought process here. And I guess I'm going to open this up for Q&A. But should you need some product that is very well diversified, and I have failed enough time to know exactly what I'm talking about here, that's the QR code. You can find my wholesale there. If you're looking for any other help that I could give you in the smoke shop, I also teach that as well at chadwadetv.com. Should you need me in any way, you can find me there. And I don't know, let's go. We got any questions?
I watched your videos probably a year. It's been a few months, but I got into it for a little bit, and it was right. I think, didn't Kentucky do a disposable ban, a vape registry?
They did a.
I'm really wondering how you evolved from that. Like what the world looks like, if not in Kentucky, in a state with a vape registry.
How long have you been in the industry?
10 years or so.
So you know our industry is very resilient.
Yeah, no,
and you know that we love the workaround.
Yes.
Right? And so you know that ban had to do with nicotine.
Yeah.
Not the substitutes.
Right. So that's what I wonder.
Well, that's how we did it. That's how we're moving around it. And the metadone and things like that, we're moving.
Buying it like in a state where there's nothing else. Now Louisville, you can go across the room. Or go across the.
But they're not.
This one.
But they're not. They're buying these new synthetic nicotines, and the world apparently is back to normal. I mean, but they're not inexpensive. Now they're a little pricey. Now instead of them being $14.99, they're $24.99. So are they buying more of them? No, but now they're 30,000, 50,000 count, whereas before they wasn't. And so, and you know, of course our industry will still sell product that maybe we're not supposed to, but until they catch you, it is what it is, because they'll warn you. All right, but again, you're working in the gray area there. I don't suggest that personally. And if you've been watching my videos, you know why. I'm not a big fan of jail, okay? And if any of you are, you're a special person there, you know?
So what did Kentucky do on THC and hemp?
They have made a regulatory
When did it happen?
the first of the year. It went January 1st and didn't give us any notice whatsoever. But then they tell us, hey man, we're going to give you 60 days to sell out of it. Really what that meant was you're going to give me 60 days to keep ordering it. And then we're going to sell it even afterwards, because there's only 300 agents for the whole state of Kentucky. And then they even tell you when you register, we're going to come in and work with you to get you right, which means warning. And then they tell you that after that, they're going to make sure that everything you have on your store, in your shop, is regulatory compliant. And not one time did they say a word about arresting anyone. I don't even know of anybody that's been hit. Not even one single person.
So what are you selling?
What am I selling? Oh, I'm strictly with I got rid of hemp, most of the hemp product. We kept some of the stuff that's on the list. And we get that from a local distributor, and I don't even sell that in my wholesale though. So if it's not name brand, if it's not, you know, the Chapo brand or the Disco brand or something like that, I don't sell that in the wholesale. Anybody else? Hang on.
So in the case that you have like a THC product or something that you stock, when those things are like new, how long are you? What are you doing with those products? I'm really getting at.
We're being told federally when they tell you that hemp is gone, it's a garbage product. How long have you been in the industry?
I'm really just I'm with him. I'm with him. I think you've been on the work for about a year now, Gary.
So, truthfully, what we're going to do there is what our industry has always done: survive. And maybe we're going to continue to sell it until they stop us. If I'm keeping it real. Because I don't think they're going to come after us like that, man. I think they're going to say, okay, this is the date, this is it, and it'll be like everything else with the government, hurry up and wait, because they don't have enforcement action yet. They have no enforcement actions set aside. They haven't even discussed that part in that hemp ban, supposedly in November. Your state will probably cut it out first.
I'm looking for a system in credit card processing
That'll work with you?
Work. Yeah.
I love the way Lightspeed looks for a POS, but it's expensive. I understand that Clover is working with us now. I haven't seen that personally, but I understand that they have a program, and I like, as far as processing, I like Birdie a lot, because but you got to have all your paperwork ready to go. You got to have COAs ready to download and show them that you have all your stuff together. You have to tell them all this product that you have, but that's how they keep it compliant. And anybody that doesn't want your COAs and all your paperwork, they're just waiting to get your money and hold it. Because at any moment they'll say, oh, we got to have this, but you can't process credit card until you have it. Are you shutting down in one day?
Is that one system that does it, the inventory, POS, and the processing?
That's the way I would look at it. If you go with Birdie, discuss that with them, and they have that whole program. But I do totally believe in them. I use them.
Is it standard? Because the shop I own, we have one POS hike, and then Square just...
I see that too. I see that a lot. You have an individual section, right here behind the counter, and then here's the POS system up here, and that's maddening, isn't it? And you would love to be able to swipe that card right there in front of them, or even on the tablet. make it look just as plain as possible.
That's what I'm looking for.
Contact Birdie. Yep. Hang around afterwards and I'll give you a phone number to call, because that's who we use. And I know it's a fact, and I know if they work with me as much stuff as we sell, I've got over 3,000 SKUs in the stores. So I'm guessing you have pretty close. Yeah. Anybody else? All right, then I'll wrap this up. Hey, thank you all so much. I appreciate you letting me do this and being a part of this. Y'all have a good day. Enjoy your show.